Hello everyone, welcome to my lecture series of electromagnetic fields. We will discuss different theories, phenomena and numerical solution of different cases in this series. I hope this series will give a fruitful outcome to physics scholars or engineering students.
So in the previous video we have learned the concept of potential due to different charge distribution. Now in today's video we are going to learn about equipotential surfaces, then conservative fields and potential gradient. All these three concepts are very essential and important as far as the study of electrostatic is concerned. So let us start. Now starting with equipotential surfaces, so in any electric field there are many points at which the electric potential is same. Say for example, if I am having a point charge over here, then I can have so many points at the same distance. Say if I am having a distance of r, then this point is at the distance r. Similarly, any point on the circumference of the circle with radius r will be on the same distance r from this plus q point charge. Fine. So if the value of potential on this point, say this point is a and VA is nothing but q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r, then on each and every point on this circle will have the value of potential same as VA. Now imagining in the same case in three-dimensional, then we can have a sphere of radius r and all the points on this sphere are at a distance curly r from this point charge plus q, and the value of potential on each and every point of this sphere is same as q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into curly r. Fine. So such spherical surface in our example is called the equipotential surface, in which the value or magnitude of potential at each and every point of the surface is same. So by definition we can say an equipotential surface is an imaginary surface in electric field of a given charge distribution on which the values of potential are same at all the points of surface. So let us take some example of equipotential surfaces. So here in first example, as you can see, we are having a isolated positive charge and the solid line represents the distribution of field, and here the dash. See, we have represent the three-dimensional configuration into two dimension. So whatever you are seeing as a circle are actually a sphere. Fine. So we can define so many spheres around the point charge, and all the point on particular sphere will have the same value of potential, and hence each sphere will act as a equipotential surface for this charge distribution. Fine. Similarly, in second case we are having a parallel plate capacitor. So here in three dimension we can imagine the plate as in this place, this shape. Okay. So here whatever dashed line you are seeing here, solid line represents the electric field distribution and dashed line represents the equipotential surface. So actually these are not lines, rather these are the carpets which are at the same distance from the positive and negative plate as well. Fine. So all the points on this carpet will have the same value of potential, and the surface which consists all such points are called equipotential surfaces. So for this case we can imagine as many equipotential surfaces as we want. Fine. So here in third example we have taken two similar point charges, both are negative. So this line with arrow represents the field distribution of such charge, and this greenish blue line represents the shape of equipotential surfaces. Fine. So any point that comes on this surface will have the same potential, and the reason behind it is the effective distance of the point from the charges are equal. Fine. So here we need to understand, or we need to imagine this into 3 dimension. Fine. So actually this is in the shape of 2 eggs which are meeting at some point. Fine. So this is how somewhat it will look like. Okay. So, and to have a practical example which we can actually perform in our laboratory, so here we have taken a conducting surface of L shape and we have provided plus 20 volt with the help of DC power supply. Fine. Then we have taken a conducting surface of eclipse shape and we have provided minus 20 volt with the help of same or different DC power supply. And with the help of electrolytic tank available in our laboratory, we can plot as many equipotential surfaces as we want. Fine. Here I have deliberately chosen the irregular shape so that you can see that equipotential surfaces can be defined for any kind of or any shape of charge distribution. It is not necessary that equipotential surfaces are defined only for regular charge distribution. Fine. Here this potential distribution is so irregular, then also we are having 7 number of equipotential surface. Actually we can have infinite number of equipotential surfaces, but here just for the simplicity we have just taken plus 5 plus 10 plus 15 volt, 0 volt and minus 15 minus 10 and minus 5 volt. Fine. So this is very important and easy experiment to be done when we are going for the laboratory work. Okay, moving further, the next very important concept is conservative field. So here as we have seen that for any equipotential surface, say we are having a positive charge, then 2 points on the equipotential surface, let's say point A and point B. Here both the points are on the equipotential surfaces. Now if I want to move some charge, say plus 1 coulomb test charge, from point A to point B, fine, then the amount of work done to move this point charge from point A to B is nothing but potential difference between point B, A and B. Fine. So which is nothing but VB minus VA, final point potential minus the potential at initial point. Okay. But here point A and B both are at the on the equipotential surface. So the value of potential will be same. So it will be 0. So same way we can say that work done to move 1 coulomb charge or say any charge from point A to B which both lies on the equipotential surface is 0. Fine. Apart from this, we can also imagine another condition. Say we are having a non-uniform electric field. So as you can see, these arrows represents the highly random and non-uniform electrostatic field. Fine. And if we are having a test charge, say plus 1 coulomb on any point A, and we move this test charge in any closed path, it doesn't matter the closed path is regular or irregular. Fine. But if we move this test charge on any closed path and return to the same point A, then also the amount of work done is 0. Why? Because when we will calculate the work done, then we are going to use the relation of E bar dot dl bar. So when we will having the line integration calculation, at that time the lower limit and upper limit of the integration will be same, and if both lower and upper limit will be same, then also the work done will be equal to 0. So these two are the cases when we are getting the work done 0, however we are moving a charge from one point to another. Fine. So the work done in moving a test charge around any closed path in electrostatic field is 0, and this is because the potential at initial point of movement and final point are same. So we can say any field is conservative if it satisfied the condition which is closed path integration of E bar dot dl bar equals to 0. So this is the condition for any field to be conservative, and if any field is conservative and it satisfies this condition, then we can say here electrostatic field is always conservative. So we have already seen the two cases and we have proved that in both the cases the amount of work done is 0. Fine. And if it is so, then the electrostatic field can be referred as conservative field. Okay. Now moving further, for the understanding of the concept of gradient. See, we have already seen the concept of divergence. Fine. At that time, we have introduced nabla or say del operator. Fine. Here nabla is a proper noun in Greek alphabet, and del operator it is recognized in the vector calculus. Okay. So at the time of divergence, we have defined the divergence as a limit delta V tends to 0. That is, divergence is only defined for the very small volume. Fine. Or volume which is shrinking to 0. Okay. Then closed surface integration of any particular vector. I am not going to take d bar. Fine. Any particular vector dot ds bar divided by dv or say delta v. Fine. So this is called the divergence, and it is represented by nabla dot a bar, and it was defined in Cartesian coordinate system as del a by del x by plus del ay by del y plus del az by del z. And this is how we can calculate the divergence. Fine. So we can say that divergence of any vector field is a scalar. The result of divergence of any vector is scalar. Fine. Now the divergence of scalar is not defined. So if you want to find nabla dot alpha, so this does not define. Okay. Or we can simply say it is 0. Okay. So same way we are going to study another important operation, vector operation, that which is gradient. Fine. See here del operator, if it applies to any particular scalar, say alpha, then it is called gradient. We will shortly see how this gradient is defined. See, at the time of divergence, we have seen that divergence is defined in this manner. Fine. So we will shortly see how gradient is defined. But if this del operator is applied on any scalar, then it is called gradient operation. If the same del operator is applied with the dot product with any vector, then it is called divergence. We have seen each and every aspect of divergence in previous videos. And if the same del operator is applied with the cross product with any other vector, then this operation is called curl. Fine. So we need to understand these three vector calculus operation, gradient, divergence and curls, from which we have seen the divergence in very deep sense, and today we are going to learn about gradient. Okay. And particularly potential gradient. Okay. So for the potential, let us consider a charge of plus q coulomb and some point at a distance small r, let us say point A. Fine. So for such charge distribution, we can consider E bar is equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught plus Q divided by R square AR bar volt per meter. For the same configuration, we can define the potential at point A. Here it is also field intensity at point A. Potential at point A, which is essentially a scalar quantity, then we can write Q upon 4 pi epsilon naught into R volt. Fine. So this is field intensity, which is vector quantity. This is a potential at point A, which is scalar quantity. Fine. And now if we want to plot, or say from this relationship, we can say the potential at point A or any point is inversely proportional, not point A, the potential at any point is inversely proportional to the distance of that point from the charge. Fine. So V is inversely proportional to R. And if we plot the relationship between distance and potential, then we can have independent parameter, that is distance, on x-axis, dependent parameter, that is voltage or say potential, on y-axis, and from this particular equation we can plot the characteristic as this one. So here we have represented V is inversely proportional to R. Now on this characteristic, if we are having 2 points A and B, so here this is our point A and this is point B. This the projection on horizontal axis is distance of point A and point B from the charge. Here we can say that RB is greater than RA. Similarly, the potential at point A can be determined with the projection of the curve on vertical axis at point A and B. So VA and VB. Here we can easily see that VA is greater than VB. Okay, so we can also say that this is our small differential length dl, and this is our small change in potential or small potential difference. Fine. So we are having VAB, or say potential difference between point A and B, as delta V, which is nothing but negative of E bar dot delta L. Fine. And now if we want to define the gradient, then gradient of V, or say any scalar, is defined as limit delta L tends to 0 delta V upon delta L. Fine. So this is the mathematical definition of gradient. It is symbolically represented as nabla into V. Fine. And if we are having here delta V equals to minus E bar dot dl bar, then limit delta L tends to 0 delta V upon delta L can be represented as minus E bar. So from this relation we can say the gradient of V equals to negative of E bar, and this is so important relationship between potential and electric field. Okay, now the physical meaning of gradient is very essential to understand. So physical meaning of a gradient is nothing but so essentially it is a slope of voltage versus distance characteristic. Or in other words, we can say it is the maximum value of rate of change of potential with respect to distance. Fine. So this is the very fundamental and simple understanding of gradient. Fine. And we can say E bar equals to negative of gradient V. Fine. Now if we want to calculate the gradient, then how can we calculate? See, it is so simple to derive. If we are having dV equals to E bar negative of E bar dot dl bar, then E bar for any general case can be represented as Ex Ax bar plus Ey Ay bar plus Ez Az bar. Fine. dl bar for Cartesian coordinate system we can say dx into ax bar plus dy into ay bar plus dz into az bar. Fine. If you take the dot product, fine, then it will be like ex dx plus ey dy plus ez dz. Okay, and hence the divergence or say gradient of v, not divergence, gradient of v is nothing but del v by del x ax bar plus del v by del y ay bar plus del v by del z az bar. So this is how the gradient converts any vector into any scalar into the vector. Fine. And del operator here, del operator can be mathematically seen as del by del x ax bar plus del by del y ay bar plus del by del z az bar. It is very important relation to be remembered to solve many numericals. Fine. So this is how we can calculate gradient in Cartesian coordinate system. Now another two coordinate system of our interest is cylindrical coordinate system and spherical coordinate system. So without any proof, I am just going to represent the formula how to calculate the gradient in cylindrical coordinate system. So potential gradient in cylindrical coordinate system can be calculated as del v by del r ar bar plus 1 upon r del v by del phi a phi bar plus del v by del z az bar. And for spherical coordinate system, the potential gradient can be calculated as del v by del r ar bar plus 1 upon r del v by del theta a theta bar plus 1 upon r sin theta del v by del phi a phi bar. So these three are very important equations which should be understood and remembered to solve any particular numerical based on the gradient. Fine. Now we will end this lecture after discussing some properties of gradient of scalar. Fine. So some properties that will be important is the very first property is the gradient of any scalar, say gradient of alpha. So it gives the maximum rate of change of alpha per unit distance. Fine. So first property is nothing but the definition of gradient itself. The second property is the gradient of any scalar always indicates the direction of maximum rate of change of alpha. Fine. So it indicates the direction of maximum rate of change. Thirdly, we are having some mathematical relationship. So if we are having a gradient of two scalar alpha plus beta, fine, at that time it will follow the rule of commutative, so or say distributive, so it will be gradient of alpha plus gradient of beta. Another important property, if we want to find the gradient of two scalars which are in multiplication, so gradient of alpha into beta can be calculated as alpha multiplied by gradient of beta plus beta multiplied by gradient of alpha. This is the same rule that we also follow for the differentiation, okay, for any function multiplication. And the last rule of division, which is gradient of alpha divided by beta, can be calculated as beta multiplied by gradient of alpha minus alpha multiplied by gradient of beta whole divided by beta square. Fine. So this is the law of distribution. The fourth one is called the law of multiplication. And the last one is the law of division. So this is what about the potential gradient. We will meet in our next video with very interesting content, which is the potential and electric field due to dipole. Till then, take care. Thank you very much.